Hi, I'm Mark Lawson with Morningstar Music Publishers, and today we have an opportunity to speak with Michael Burkhardt. Michael has been working with children's choirs for a number of years and is known for his Hearts, Hands, and Voices choir. He's been meeting with them virtually, and I thought it might be good to have a conversation about some of the things that he has experienced. Welcome, Michael. Glad that you're here.
Nice to be with you, Mark, and to have the
So,
opportunity to share.
good, good. Well, tell us a little bit about how often you're meeting and what format you're using.
We've opted to meet every other week. And in the past couple of weeks, we've been meeting just on days we chose because they had significance for the children. We met during Holy Week to do a Holy Week journey. We met this past Sunday in the afternoon because it was going to be our concert day. So in lieu of our concert, we met. But after this week's Sunday, talking with the children and the parents, we've decided to continue to meet on Monday nights, which is our regular meeting night. And so one week we will meet in person, and on the alternate weeks, I will send them a presentation via PowerPoint that they can do in between the meeting sessions. Our format that we're using is a Zoom meeting, and we've had as many as 30 to 35 participants in the meeting with us.
And then do you use the gallery view when you do that so you can see all of them?
Yes. Um, and the toughest thing for children is to help them find the mute button on their computers, because as we're doing activities together, they need to be muted, otherwise it becomes cacophony along the way in terms of sound. But they've become quite savvy and probably better than some of us adults at
Hmm.
doing this technological thing.
What does a typical rehearsal look like, and how does it maybe differ from, when you're actually in the room?
Well, it's not so much of a rehearsal. Our time together as a Hearts, Hands, and Voices group is pretty broad-based, where we will move from space to space, normally with a half hour of singing and choir time, and then 20 minutes of handbell time, another 10 or 15 minutes of Orff time and African drumming. So obviously all of that's changed right now. We're meeting we say for 30 minutes, but it's been lasting about 40 minutes. And so basically during Holy Week, we just did an experience and we walked through Holy Week with all of the scripture passages that they had experienced during rehearsals prior to Holy Week. We also looked at the symbols we had learned and talked about in rehearsals. And then embedded in the PowerPoint, I included the scores of the music they had learned and then had orchestrated them on finale so that they could hear the accompaniments, and then we sang together, but we couldn't hear each other, but they could sing in their space. This past Sunday, we did an interesting experience, and we're finding that the more active and interactive the sessions are, the better.
Hmm.
Um, so what we did was we actually played a handbell piece together. And prior to our time together, the children were sent their marked scores, and they were invited to put a spoon in each hand if they felt they needed something, and to tie a red ribbon around the right hand spoon and a blue ribbon around the left hand. So for the younger children's marked scores, they would remember which hand was which. And then we did a handbell warm-up together, and I have handbells here at my home, so I rang, and we did the normal warm-up we would normally do during rehearsal. And then I said, okay, get your scores out now. And they each had printed their scores out prior to our meeting. And they were very intent on ringing with their spoons. And it was great fun. And, it was fun to encourage them at the end and saying, I didn't hear any wrong mistakes or wrong notes along the
Which is
way.
good since you were the only one playing.
That's right.
Good. Say, I think that you had some examples of some things that you wanted to show us too.
Right. So for that particular experience, I entitled each of our sessions is having a theme right now. So that session was called Music and the Imagination. And so we began by doing a little bit of the history of handbells, is how we started out. And we have been asking the question for our imagination, what if? And so we went back 300 some years and said, well, what if we could practice ringing the tower bells without disturbing the neighbors? How would that look? And so we talked about the two brothers who eventually invented handbells. And so then we needed now to use our imagination. What if we can't meet together and hold bells in our hand? Can we still ring a piece together? And so that's how we approached that. And so we used a PowerPoint presentation to show the score so that they could follow along if they didn't want to look at their individual scores that they had printed out. And then we followed that with taking a look at Psalm 148, which is that great psalm of everything and everyone praising God. And so their task was to, as we read those words, think about sounds you could make with your body or things nearby you in the room that would help us see this group of creatures or creation praising God. And so that was really fun. It took a little while for that to get going, just because of shyness, and like, well, what's the right answer? Because we're so used to always have to having a right answer. But then as it went along, it became much more lively and exciting. And the kids really came up with some creative sounds, and some actually drew some pictures they could share with us. The interesting thing then was in that sharing, one of the boys asked, well, I was going to play my horn during this concert today. Would you like me to play a horn solo sometime during one of our sessions? Which led to lots of kids volunteering to share their talents. So
I'm sure that's true. Yes. Yeah. So,
so
well,
what they're going to do in the future, they're going to each week, we're going to have somebody share their talent. Someone's going to play a horn, one's going to dribble basketball, one's going to play a little bit of Twinkle Twinkle. And I think the biggest thing that we've learned is that it's important to acknowledge that we're in the middle of this crisis.
mhm.
And so that Psalm 148, as we were talking about it, we were thinking about the busyness of the world has kind of stopped for a while. And maybe the good news and one of the bright spots in this time is that creation is getting to breathe. And
Mhm.
we've seen pollution cut down, certainly the lowest it's ever been in Southern California, and things like that. And then I challenged them to think about how they were helping creation, breathe during this time, because we know it's a terrible crisis for humankind, but maybe we can find the things that are good also happening
Yeah.
during the time.
Yeah. Well, we will we'll put up some of these PowerPoints and some of your graphics in a second. And then we'll also try to make them available in some form. I think we can make this into a blog post where we could put some of those as well on that blog post, and people could have access to see the kind of work you're doing. But to close, why don't I ask if somebody is not doing rehearsals with their children's choir at this point and are thinking about it, what words of encouragement would you have for them or ways to maybe think about starting?
First of all, do something. It doesn't have to be perfect. The children need to know that you are still part of their lives and caring about them. And what we have found in each of our times together, if you can provide a time for them to share something at the very beginning, that's almost as important as whatever you do during the rest of your time together. And so I start with a motivating question for them. And our last one was, can you tell me something that has made you smile today or in the past week? And you wouldn't believe the kind things, that we hear from those children. And they're very sincere in sharing them. And it's a big deal for them because they're contributing, to the community. And the other thing, no matter what medium you use, I think it needs to be interactive. I'm learning that in our schools, because of the wide range of both funding available and economics in the different areas, a lot of their work is not interactive, but it's interactive with a computer, but not with a human being. And I think
Hmm.
interactive part with a human being is probably critical, and use movement. We stood up, we did our warm-up exercise, bring some normalcy into a new normal. We got all of our old charts out, and they're all going, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so while we know it's not going to be the same normal we've had before, if we can bring some of old normal into new normal, it will help us, be together
Yeah.
and love the children while you're with them and enjoy their presence and welcome their presence. If you can't do a Zoom meeting, maybe you can create something that you share via, an email with them. I would say if you can't do a meeting with your children, I would say the next best thing is call them all up. Take 5 so each week and talk to them
It's
and
great. Good to.
and sing with them on the phone.
Hmm. Great words of encouragement. So, well, thank you so much for visiting with us. And for those of you that would like to see more of Michael's materials, if you go to our website and you go to the choral section, you'll see a link to children's materials. And on that children's materials, you'll find a link to the Hearts, Hands, and Voices series with a lot of Michael's books represented in that link. Well, thank you very much, Michael, and best of luck as we continue forward.
Likewise. Thank you, Mark.
All right, thank you.
Bye.